most physically demanding scene was the scene where I was hanging in that hole like that, because the cables were just a little too long to shoot it right. So what they did was the cables that would normally have come to here, these are like piano wires, if you guys know what I'm talking about there. They crossed them like that. So I had two piano wires on strong points right here, pulling across my hips and digging, yeah, I see you shaking your head, you know what I'm talking about. Digging into my hips as I hung horizontally. So that was the hardest part for me. I had bruises after that.
My hardest scene was doing the swimming scene because I got food poisoning.
No, you didn't.
Yeah. And the ambulance had to come to my house the night before. Are you going to be okay? Because we still had to shoot. And I was saying, you know what, I'm so sick. I mean, I thought I was going to die. And then a day later, Stephen gets food poisoning and we shut down for like 3 days.
The caterers, whoever those caterers were.
But you still have to work, and you can't afford really to be. You can't take a day off. There's lots and lots of money for each day that you're shooting, and you got to roll with it. So that was my experience.
The hardest thing for me was that I couldn't eat. When I had that makeup on, and it drove me nuts. So I'm sure many of you know, as it's in the DVD, I had to have everything through a straw when I had the prosthetic makeup on, and I got tired of it, so the last day they served spaghetti and marinara sauce, and I said, I'm having none of this, so I ate it. And it all fell into the pocket between the prosthetics and my face, and it rested there all day long under hot lights. So it was pretty gross when we finally pulled it all off. Yeah, I had crusty lasagna on my chin all day long. It was gross. I couldn't eat spaghetti for a long time.
I'd say my hardest scene was coming down the stairs when Freddie's coming out of Lisa. You know those funky stairs?
Yeah.
You know, it was a very dark set. It was an amazing set. But you know, that whole Escher set of the stairs going every which way. And I'm supposed to kind of look, you know, strong and ominous, you know, Amanda coming down the stairs. And I'm in a long habit, and, you know, I'm not going to be looking down. I'm supposed to be looking forward, coming down, you know, Jacob, release them, you know. And I was so scared of tripping. Yeah, I was really scared, because the whole time I'm like, please don't trip, please don't trip, please don't trip, because I'm coming down the stairs. That was my hardest.
The stairs were uneven. I had the same. They made Escher was the artist. I don't know if you guys know Escher, he makes these really cool paintings. And they made the stairway almost as though it goes to infinity kind of thing. So some of the stairs weren't, there'd be like one that was long, one that was short, and then another long.
It was literally built like an Escher.
Yeah, so you got to take 2 steps, 1 step, 2 steps, and you had to look at the camera the whole time, so walking down them wasn't easy, for sure. I didn't really have any hard scenes. It was a blast. I got to do 2 films, so I had so many fun scenes. I mean, Lisa and I got to do 2. I got to do 2, and so I mean, most of my scenes were a blast. We did from 4 and 5. There were so many cool effects that they were making. Like the first, they had this thing called a kaleidoscope. It's just like as though you looked into a kaleidoscope. Freddie would spin it. I think this is in part 4. And it was big enough to where I could put my arms on it and actually hold my body and spin it all the way around inside of it. And there was 3 of them connected. These guys made this crazy looking kaleidoscope. I was pretty much playing in it the whole time. It wasn't like difficult or anything. It was actually a lot of fun. I goofed around a lot. It was a lot of fun. It's fun to make a horror film.
It is fun. The hardest day was having to wear Freddie makeup for a whole day. It was really, I didn't want to look in the mirror or anything, because I'd probably crack it. Anyway, it was hard, you know, and just having that feeling on your face, and though it was not great. And I guess I'm just going to add to that a second thing that was hard. I don't think I've forgotten to tell this story. I don't know if I did in the documentary, but I got actually mugged coming home from work one night. I had been screaming all day, and anyway, I get home, it's like 1 in the morning, and I'm carrying my purse and my script bag, and I see these pair of white tennis shoes, and I'm thinking, oh, it's my husband, he's waiting for me outside the back door. Wait, that doesn't make sense. And I'm looking up, and there's this huge man who then goes to, I start screaming, of course, And he like has his huge hands, puts them over my face, the lenses in my glasses pop out, and then I just go like this to grab for my heart. I don't know why I'm thinking of protecting my heart. And I'm struggling, and he throws me on the ground, and I'm like, oh God, this is not good. And then thankfully a neighbor heard, and he said, what's going on down there? And then the guy ran off, and then my husband comes running out with a butcher knife, ready to do some damage. Anyway, so that was kind of scary, and of course, going to work the next day, you know, everything's fine, you know, anyway. Just thought I'd share that.
Just an average night in Los Angeles.
That wasn't scary at all. That's LA, that was scary, you're right.
And actually, Freddy's Dead, the first like 15 minutes is like, you know, me battling with Freddy. And we shot that in like this frigid cold snap that was going on in California in Newhall. And for whatever reason, the writer decided that I had to be barefoot and in a t-shirt for this whole sequence. And running through woods and people's backyards and climbing like, you know, logs and getting these splinters in between my toes and falling down hills, getting hit by a bus and all this other stuff. And that was actually mild compared to the last couple of days. We had a hard stop of filming. New Line wasn't going to go past this certain day. And Robert and I had a ton of special effects stuff that we had to shoot in Burbank Airport in this giant hangar where, you know, me in the parachute and the airplane and him cutting me down and saying grounded and all this sort of stuff. And so the Aaron Warner, who subsequently went on to win an Oscar for Shrek, funny enough, I see him accepting an Oscar. He produced Freddy's Dead. He was like, guys, listen, we're bringing in a really big trailer for you two because you're going to have to take cat naps because we're going to go until we shoot everything. We basically had like 5 days of stuff that we had to cram into about 2.5 days. So we shot like 50 hours straight. And the first thing they said that they had to do was, we bought you a carton of Parliament Lights because we're going to wax your chest. And so get comfortable in this thing. And I'm like, oh yeah, it'll be no problem. Let me tell you guys, you have no idea what these women go through. Because this was the most painful, brutal thing I ever went through. But about like 40 hours into it, our director got completely ill because she hadn't slept in days. She had to go home. Our producer finished directing the film. And Robert and I were suspended on these uncomfortable wires forever. And we were absolutely delirious, and we started sharing like really inappropriate things about each other and our significant others and everything else. I mean, we were just completely sleep deprived. I mean, just battle tested. And finally, we finished everything up, and we're walking back to the makeup trailer to get cleaned up. And I said, you know, Robert, you got to leave me a souvenir after, you know, 3.5 months of this stuff. He was like, yeah, no problem. And he like gently like tore off his neck and he took off his entire head and he gave it to me. And he was like, you may want this someday. And I was like, all right, I'll put it in a Ziploc bag. By the way, it smells like ass. But it's pretty cool. Every now and then you can put it on. It's like, wow, there's Robert's ears. And, you know, put a little KY jelly here and it's, you know, back to normal. But in that last film, they had his makeup down to 3 pieces, just the nose, the chin, and everything else. And then he just painted it in a little KY jelly. So it was cool that he was able to take the whole hood and ear and head and neck piece off, and he just gave it to me